Today we are going to talk about multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease of the central nervous system. This means that it compromises the brain, spinal cord, and the optic nerve. MS affects young people. It suddenly appears commonly in persons between 20 and 40 years. It's a potentially disabling disease that will certainly change their lifestyle. The exposure is unknown, although there are multiple factors that can promote its development. For example, a smoking habit, genetic antecedents, sex, since women are twice as likely to have this disease, and race. Here it is, a frontal brain slice of someone. The exterior part is what we call the gray matter, and the interior part is called the white matter. And what are this white and gray matter made of? Well, if you remember, the brain is made up of about 86 billion neurons. That's right, not million, billion. The cell membrane, it's what's gonna give the gray matter its gray color. The axon also has some cell membrane, but the axon also has myelin. And it's the myelin what's gonna give the white matter its color. Then, let's say that this person develops multiple sclerosis. And what we'll see are these lesions that kinda form throughout the white matter of the brain. That actually makes sense, because in multiple sclerosis, the myelin that gives the white matter its color begins to degrade away. And the reason why it does that is because the immune system mistakenly recognizes the myelin as foreign and attacks it. Let's draw a neuron over here. First, we have the dendrites, then the cell body. Then here we have the axon, and this is the myelin. So this red line drawn here is going to be the basement membrane. These things compose what is called as the blood-brain barrier. So, the blood-brain barrier, it is a pretty special structure, because it stops a lot of things from entering the brain. Things that you really don't want to enter the brain. For example, if you have a virus and it enters the brain, it will cause a lot of damage. So, the blood-brain barrier is going to stop that from happening. It also stops your immune system entering the brain. You have a T cell. It does not have access to enter the brain. But in MS, T cells are able to pass through the endothelial cells and break through the basement membrane. And that way, they make their way into the brain. Now, we have a whole bunch of immune cells that are really clustered around a part of the brain. And when this happens, we call this neuroinflammation. But, as it turns out, the brain actually does have a way to repair itself. Well, let's say we have another neuron over here. So, that myelin is actually gonna be provided for the neurons by these cells over here. These cells are not neurons. In fact, they are called oligodendrocytes. And when that myelin is degraded away, this oligodendrocyte will begin the process of remyelination. So it's gonna try to repel all that damaged myelin. And so this is great, right? This means that the brain has a natural healing process. And we call that remyelination. But as time goes on, that remyelination actually becomes less and less effective. So, the oligodendrocyte will really try to remyelinate the axon to the best of its abilities. But it'll ultimately just become overwhelmed by the power of the immune system. And the immune system will be really persistent. These T cells will just constantly release all the cytokines. Those B cells will always be around to release those antibodies, and the macrophages will always be around to actually phagocytize that myelin. So, ultimately, what we have is this remyelination process that's being overpowered by the immune system.
What's wrong? Are you okay?
I can't see anything.
So, what are you doing Friday?
I'm going to the movies to see Captain America Civil War.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I like that movie.
Yes, I have seen. What's happening with your eyes?
I don't know what's going on. Man, I gotta tell you something.
What?
But you need to promise me you won't tell anybody.
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember that day I went out with, to the movies?
Yeah.
Well, after that, we went to my house to,
Okay.
But then, something strange happened. I couldn't,
Really?
It didn't work, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Damn.
I think I love you.
What?
I love you?
What?
That I love you.
I can't hear
Okay,
you.
never mind.
Multiple sclerosis. Symptoms: central, fatigue, cognitive impairment, depression, unstable mood. Visual: nystagmus, optic neuritis, diplopia. Speech: dysarthria. Throat: dysphagia. Musculoskeletal: weakness, spasms, ataxia. Urinary incontinence. Sensation: pain, hyposthesias, paresthesias. Bowel incontinence. Also, numbness and sexual problems. Diagnosis: to diagnose MS, a neurological exam, an eye exam, and a spinal tap are used. Treatment: this is a chronic disease. There is no cure for it. But with the correct treatment, it shouldn't be fatal. Corticosteroids are used to regulate the immune system. If there is not an adequate response, plasmapheresis is another option. And to avoid its progression, interferon is used. There must be emotional support also. The association of the patient with the family is vital for a good management of MS. A new compound called furosemide is being tested, and it seems to be a potential new treatment for multiple sclerosis. Treatment and prognosis. This is a chronic disease. There is no cure for it, but with the correct treatment, it shouldn't be fatal. According to the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation, MS patients have essentially the same life expectancy than the general population. Corticosteroids are used to regulate the immune system. If there is not an adequate response, plasmapheresis is another option. And to avoid its progression, interferon is used. There must be emotional support also. The association of the patient with the family is vital for a good management of MS.